This 2020-21 Vendée Globe Round the World Race Report is brought to you by Pantania's Professional Race Cover, your tailor-made racing yacht insurance. A few minutes after crossing the line, Romain Attanasio, all smiles as usual, gives his first impressions of his race. This is crazy. You are thoroughly. You have to be 100% connected, there are traps all the time. If you don't check something, it becomes a disaster. It doesn't happen. Never stop. And this climb up the Atlantic. I had all the options. The calm in the Falklands, the storm afterwards, then 3 days stuck in the doldrums, and again the storm in the Azores. It's a new slice of life. 4 years ago I remember everything. I was with my friends, who are not far from elsewhere, they are on a semi-rigid. I was skiing shortly after my return and at one point at the table they said to me, "You are still talking about Vendée World." And it's true, for weeks after arrival it's just that. It is so striking. Now we need a third round, but a round that I hope flies fast in air. This arrival, you think about it while you should not think about it because at any time the race can stop. Earlier it was windy and I was telling myself that the mast could still fall. When you cross the line you say to yourself, nothing can happen to me anymore. I do not realize. I lowered the mainsail as we usually do with Seb and the team and I didn't realize. No more stress, it's over. For Sam Davis it's hard, we thought she would arrive before me. We called each other during the race, I wanted to talk to her about the finish but I held back a bit. But she will come to the end. Until you arrive, it's endless. I had big problems. My mainsail carriage got stuck up there just before the doldrums. Since then I have been sailing with a reef in the mainsail. I have a piece of Gennaker, my J1 has bent the candlestick, it was in the water, I spent 1h30 raising it. It was stupid. That's the life of a Vendée Glober. We learn all the time in this sport, in this race. We also learn to feel nature, understand it and adapt to it. I think it was Franck Camas who said that it is in difficulty that we progress. There, I made good progress. The skipper of Pure Best Western Hotels and Resorts, 14th in this Vendée Globe, looked back on his adventure. With humor and lucidity, he evokes his moments of doubt, the support of his partners and his dream of participating again aboard a foiler. Here are the highlights of his press conference. He said, "I'm very happy to arrive, obviously it's been so long, it's incredible this race. We are fighting like dogs to complete this round the world trip. We managed to do it, it's crazy. What has changed compared to the previous edition had bought a lot more data because the prices have dropped dramatically. 4 years ago I was just taking my weather files from the internet and doing some communications with the organizers and the sponsors. I remember that I had just gone online to see a picture of Thomas, Loud, broken boat, but that was the only thing. While on this edition we were talking on WhatsApp with my friends, and then I went on the net to watch the news a bit. We were a little less isolated. But hey, I still spent 3 months alone. In the end, we talk more with the skippers at sea than with people on land, because with the land there is a big gap. We have talked a lot with Jeremy in recent days, because we were going through the same thing. I sent more videos, it was much easier, I did it directly with my iPhone. I did a little editing directly on the phone and I sent it over Wi-Fi to the organizers. 4 years ago I had a camcorder, I had to remove the key, compress the files, and sending took 3 hours. Ascent to the mast, there are quite a few skippers to do the sea and mountain trophy. We use an olivette to climb up a pylon. I used it to go up the mast, because my mainsail was blocked. But there was 2 meters of hollow, it was not at all the same thing, it was horror. I was at the end of my life coming back down. I tried to convey everything, sometimes we laugh, but not always. I had to go up a second time and then I finally ended up with a reef in my mainsail. 4 years ago I repaired my rudder near South Africa. No one thought the competitors would be so close at the finish. Usually it always starts from the front. And there for the first, it was always back from behind. For Yannick Bestaven, it must have been hellish. It created this group that has always stayed in touch. Unfortunately I stalled, this mainsail story did not help me. It looked very intense, It must have been great for them to experience because it was a real regatta, but it must have been really exhausting because a Vendée Globe is long. And the end was really engaged. I told myself that it desecrated a little the arrival of the first, who usually arrives really far ahead. What is the prisoner? It felt more like a regatta than an incredible adventure around the world. I have already discussed with my sponsors for the future. My partners are SMEs. It is because there are many of them that they succeed in doing the Vendée Globe. Each business could not do it alone. Everyone is important, of course I thank them. For the rest, I would like to have a foil boat. I am not asking for a new boat. Foiling boats make me dream, it's fabulous. If other sponsors want to join the team, it will be with pleasure. The hardest part in a Vendée Globe is being at the start. I have plenty of fellow sailors who dream of competing in this race, but it's hard to put in place. I measure how lucky I am. In difficult times, I think of all the people behind me. About the evolution of technical regulations, I am a big proponent of cost containment. I have never been part of the big teams. With two big foils, we realized that it was complicated in the deep south. I think we need to establish some rules with the IMOCA class to limit the size of the foils. The main thing is that it remains affordable. You cannot get on a boat with fear in your stomach. Currently, we are still in a trial period. You can't use a foiler everywhere like in the Bay of Port La Forêt. It is important that there are always several ways for a sponsor to get involved, and that those with less budget can continue to buy older boats. Telling a Vendée Globe with humor tried to put a good mood in my stories. Telling what I was going through with humor helps to cut a little of the stress that one feels in difficult situations. I wanted to tell the story of a sailor at sea, an ordinary person who does something extraordinary. I have told about the good times and the bad times. The worst part was off South Africa when 3 boats hit the Ofni. I was at the bottom of my boat at 18 knots, in the dark. There, I knew that if I hit something, I would explode my head against the wall. And those moments, I filmed them too. A story of self-sacrifice. I have one quality among my many flaws: when I want something, I don't give up. When I decided to go sailing, I was not meant to. I was lucky to meet the right people, like the banker I went to see when I was 17 when I wanted to do the mini transat. I could have been banned from banking. And it is a little thanks to him that I got into sailing. My idea is also to show everyone and the children who follow the Vendée Globe, that when you want to do something, you have to do it thoroughly. We can do whatever we want, if we give ourselves the means. It's kind of my life lesson as an ocean racer.
C'est bon pour moi, hein. Après je suis quand vous voulez.
If you're taking your racing to the next level, make sure your insurance is up to the challenge. Pantanius Professional Race Cover.
See our Vendée Globe reports on youtube.com World on Water, or our website, boatson.tv. This 2020-21 Vendée Globe Round the World Race Report was brought to you by Pantanius Professional Race Cover, your tailor-made racing yacht insurance.